I know that sound. Spill it. Who's your latest celebrity and or Instagram influencer crush?
The president of Ukraine.
Really?
It's just, he's so sexy.
He is?
Yeah. He's staying and fighting alongside his soldiers instead of running away like so many so-called heads of state.
Oh. Okay.
No, really. When the US offered him an extraction, he said he needed ammo, not a ride. Isn't that so cool and badass and sexy?
Yeah, it's very cool and badass.
Oh God, here comes the but. And not the good kind.
But is it really?
Why? Why do you always have to do this? Why can't you just admit when something's good? That as opposed to running away, as opposed to the blatant hypocrisy that we now expect from politics. How time and time again, those who make and enforce the law are somehow beyond it. How those in charge so often treat themselves like they have more intrinsic worth than those they govern. That, yes, it's very cool and badass and yeah, sexy as that at least one head of state is willing to put their money where their mouth is and stand as one with the people they're supposed to lead. I need ammunition, not ride. That's straight up a badass line from a badass movie.
Yeah, but where's that ammunition gonna end up?
What do you mean?
Because I'm assuming inside the bodies of Russian soldiers, of daughters and sons and someone's children, maybe even fathers and mothers and guardians. And I grew up separated from a parent, and let me tell you, it sucks in all sorts of ways.
Well, yeah, and that's tragic. But they're the ones invading a sovereign nation and targeting residential areas and even maternity hospitals with babies. They're the ones allegedly raping Ukrainian women. So, of course, there's going to be consequences. And some of those consequences are going to be lethal.
It's horrific. War and wartime sexual violence is and always has been horrific. And I hope the innocent will have justice soon. But so long as we're somewhat casually willing to put bullets in one another, war will always continue to be a reality.
Are you saying Ukrainians shouldn't fight back?
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's admirable beyond words and inspirational how the Ukrainian president and the Ukrainian people have been defending themselves. But that's the thing about the willingness of people to risk their lives for their nation. It's socially designed, built into the psyche from childhood. And countries rely on the psychological attachment. The nation itself is a socially constructed, imagined political community that uses things like the flag, the anthem, the map, the media, the museum with all the dinosaurs and all the educational fun. And it was one of my favorite places as a kid and where I used to dream of having a wedding one day. They use these things to instill in citizens deep feelings of camaraderie, the most important feature of which includes the willingness to die for their country. And this self-sacrificing element is touching and noble and even loving, but it too often goes hand in hand with the willingness to dehumanize and or kill members of the so-called other side. If we could just let go of this attachment, this unquestioning, axiomatic attachment to a specific group identity, whether that's to a nation or a religion or a race or a political ideology, maybe we'd have less senseless pain and violence.
Oh my God. Are you saying that Ukrainians shouldn't identify as Ukrainians? Because that's a huge part of the problem, that Putin doesn't recognize Ukraine as a separate entity from Russia.
That's not what I'm saying at all. I think recognizing, respecting, and appreciating culture and recognizing history and historical attachment to a land can be separate from nationalism and the tendency humans have repeatedly shown to do horrific things to those they don't identify with, whatever the basis of that identity may be.
Well, I stand with Ukraine.
And that's good. And we should stand with Ukraine, while also protecting innocent Russian people around the world, and also caring equally about third world refugees, and questioning Western hypocrisy when it comes to, interfering in sovereign nations. But I'm not just talking about Russia and Ukraine. Listen, please, I'm literally begging you with all of my heart. Instead of reacting, just truly listen to what I'm saying for a moment. Do you know who Hannelore Kohl is?
No, who's that?
She was the wife of a German chancellor who was thrown out of a window after being gang raped by Soviet soldiers after Germany lost World War II. She was 12 years old when they attacked her, and she ended up committing suicide as an adult. Yeah. She was one of the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of German girls and women raped by Soviet, British, French, and American soldiers.
Why are you telling me this?
Because we can't afford to be naive. Not after what we saw, what we did to one another during the 20th century. Germany became a scapegoat after the First World War, and no one cared whether or not they starved because they weren't a part of the German group. Nazi Germany committed genocide because of how they perceived themselves as a group and how they perceived others as lesser. Then soldiers of the Allied forces raped German women and children because of how they perceived Germany as an evil group. Look, listen to these quotes. A documentary book, War's Unwomanly Face by Svetlana Alexievich, includes memories by Soviet veterans about their experience in Germany. According to a former army officer, we were young, strong, and 4 years without women, so we tried to catch German women, and 10 men raped 1 girl. There were not enough women. The entire population run from the Soviet army. So we had to take young, 12 or 13-year-old. If she cried, we put something into her mouth. We thought it was fun. Now I cannot understand how I did it. A boy from a good family. But that was me. A woman telephone operator from the Soviet army recalled, "When we occupied every town, we had first 3 days for looting and rapes. That was unofficial, of course. But after 3 days, one could be court-martialed for doing this. I remember one raped German woman laying naked with hand grenade between her legs. Now I feel shame. But I did not feel shame back then. Do you think it was easy to forgive the Germans? We hated to see their clean, undamaged white houses with roses. I wanted them to suffer. I wanted to see their tears. Decades had to pass until I started feeling pity for them. The rapists and bystanders weren't evil monsters. It wasn't as simple as that. They were normal people like us. And like them, we are capable of horrific acts. Or capable of being complicit in horrific acts under the right circumstances. Because we, Homo sapiens, are tribal creatures. That's how we've evolved. And until we perceive ourselves as a single planetary tribe, until we always see one another as fellow humans, and recognize a humanity in even our most atrocious and detestable enemies, we will always see the horrors of war.
Okay, what do you suggest then? That Ukrainians don't shoot back?
I'm not pretending to have any answers, just questions. Is there a way to defend oneself and one's country without using lethal force? Oh my god. How about tranquilizer darts?
Now who's being naive? Tranquilizers can be deadly too. Even if you get the right dose based on the person's weight, they still might have an allergic reaction.
Oh, couldn't the Olympics, determine geopolitical conflict somehow? Or maybe Putin and Zelensky could arm wrestle. Or have a dance-off. Literally anything but send young people to kill one another.
Actually, President Zelensky was a dancer. He was on Dancing with the Stars and he has music videos.
Really?
Look.
In the middle right now. Dance with me, baby.
Oh my god. Is he wearing heels?
Yeah. Doesn't he seem so secure about his masculinity? It's so hot.
Wow.
I guess he danced his way into the voters' hearts.
Is there a first lady? Because he can dance his way into my pussy.